garlic confit mashed potatoes. So to confit something means to cook it in fat. And so what I'm doing is cooking garlic cloves in olive oil. So I'm gonna infuse that olive oil with this garlic. Okay. I have about 1/2 cup of peeled garlic cloves. I'm gonna turn the heat up to about medium high. So I'm gonna cook this for about 10 to 15 minutes until the garlic starts to soften up and that oil is infused with all of that garlic flavor. So I have boiled potatoes until they're fork tender. Now I'm gonna strain them and mash them. So this is about 3 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes that I've peeled and diced into equal pieces. I always get asked this question. How do you make the best mashed potatoes? Is it a blender? Is it by your hand? Is it a food processor? It's none of those ways. It's a ricer. Let me show you. I'm just gonna add the potatoes to the ricer. Then I'm gonna take this top handle and press it down. Now look at this. So the ricer creates more air, which results in a fluffier mashed potato. That's the last bit of potatoes. I need to strain the garlic from the oil and add it to the food processor with 1 stick of unsalted butter. All right, so I am going to blitz this together until all of the garlic cloves break down. All right, I am going to add this butter and garlic directly to my mashed potatoes. Okay. And I have a little heavy cream here. You don't want to cool down the potatoes with cold heavy cream, so it's good to warm it up on the stove first. Potatoes they crave salt, okay? And I'm just folding in that butter with the confit garlic and that heavy cream. I'm gonna give it a taste. Make sure I don't need to add any more salt. Woo! Hey, hey, hey. I got garlic bread for days. Just gonna add my mashed potatoes to the bowl. We are probably not gonna eat all of this, but that's the great thing about mashed potatoes. They keep in the fridge. I'm gonna use a spoon to kind of create like these divots. Remember that infused garlic oil? Take some of that oil and just drizzle it on top. All right, so I have some chives here and some bacon that I cooked. And my side is done. Ooh, they're gonna love this.
Potatoes good. This is delicious.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. Bacon, sour cream, some chives, a little color, and some hot sauce. I'm making twirly tornado chips with sweet potatoes. So my apparatus, I have this spiralizer. So what it does, it basically turns your veggies or your potatoes into twirly things. Like it's a spiralizer, like that. They have handheld ones. They have peelers that can almost do the same thing. So if you can't find this, there's another option somewhere out there on the internet. I have 2 pounds of sweet potatoes. That's about 4 medium to large size sweet potatoes. I like the sweetness from the sweet potatoes. And you know we love our sweet potatoes here in the Low Country. So I have my oil over here hot. Now I'm using a mixture of peanut and canola oil. The mixture gives it the iconic potato chip flavor. My oil is at 365. This is the perfect time to go ahead and drop my twirly sweet potatoes. And I'm gonna do this in batches. They don't take long. I'm only gonna fry them until they turn golden brown. Golden brown and crispy. First batch is done. Oh, look at that. While it's nice and fresh and hot, hit it with a little salt. All right, time to pile them high. I wanna take my twirly sweet potato chips. Bacon. I don't wanna skimp on the bacon. Okay. Next is the sour cream. Just gonna some chives, a little color, and some hot sauce. There you go. All right, it's game time, and I'm ready to whoop some butt. Yes. This is gonna be some flavorful chicken from the inside out. I'm gonna get started on my potato stuffed chicken. So I have diced 1 Yukon Gold potato. I'm gonna get my skillet hot, season my potatoes with a little salt and pepper. I'm using Yukon Gold because I love the buttery texture. Some oil to my pan. I'm gonna add some butter as well. Cook it off for just a little bit, not too much. I don't want it to get mushy. And while that's cooking, I'm gonna prepare the rest of the stuffing. So I also have a crown of broccoli here. I'm not gonna use all of this. I wanna chop this broccoli pretty fine. So I'm also using country ham in this recipe. I had to do something better than just like a little boring old chicken breast. Like I can give them that anytime. It's gonna add a little bit more saltiness and flavor to this dish. All right, so I'm gonna check on my potatoes and they look great and I don't wanna cook it anymore. So I'm gonna turn that heat off, let it cool out and finish the rest of my filling. I'm going to shred some Gruyere cheese and some sharp cheddar. Now I'm gonna add my potatoes to this bowl. Just a spoon here. All right, let me grab my chicken. Now I decided to use bone-in chicken breast with the skin on to add a little bit more flavor to this dish. But if you have boneless, skinless chicken breast, you can use that as well. This is a complete meal right here. We can stop while we're ahead, you know, make a little omelet out of this too, see? I am going to make a little slit into my chicken breast and make a little cavity to stuff my filling in, making sure I don't hit that bone. I don't want to split the chicken, just create a pocket. I'm going to stuff this into my chicken breast. Look how pretty that is already. And after I stuff the chicken breast, I'm going to close it up with these little skewers here. This is gonna be some flavorful chicken from the inside out. All right, so I'm gonna sear this off in the same skillet. So I think this one is almost there. There you go. Oh yeah, that's pretty. I have my oven preheated to 375. I am going to cook this off until the internal temperature reaches about 165. That should take about 30 to 35 minutes. The chicken is done. Nice and brown. The cheese is bubbling. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So today we're making cheesy hash brown casserole. It's loaded with hash browns, cheddar, and sour cream. It makes the perfect cheesy, creamy bite. It's so easy to make because it's just a dump, stir, and bake. All right, so before we get started, let's thaw out a 16-ounce bag of hash browns, preheat your oven to 400 degrees, and butter a 9x9 casserole dish. All right, let's get started. Let's shred 1 8-ounce block of sharp cheddar cheese. I love this hash brown casserole because it's super simple to make and it's extremely savory and it goes well with any breakfast dish. I even eat it for dinner. Casseroles in the South go hand in hand. Buttery, cheesy, well seasoned. Push your cheese to the side. And let's grate 1 medium yellow onion. Cut off your root. Discard. Use your box shredder to grate your onion. Be careful not to get those hands. All right. Scoot your onions to the side. Let's chop a 1/4 cup of chives. All right, guys, we are working with double onions. Chives are not, of course, not as oniony as a medium yellow onion. Chives just add an additional oniony flavor to it. And a chive, of course, is a milder onion flavor. All right, so let's reserve a little bit of our chives for the garnish and reserve about a half a cup of your cheddar cheese for the topping. Okay, we're gonna put the rest in the bowl. Okay, let's clean up our cutting board. To the bowl, let's add our 16-ounce bag of thawed hash browns. Let's add a half a cup of sour cream. A 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. 1½ teaspoons of sweet paprika. A little heat from the cayenne and a little smokiness from the sweet paprika. A heavy pinch of kosher salt, 2 pinches. And a heavy pinch of cracked black pepper. Okay. Let's add 1 egg. A casserole wouldn't be a casserole without an egg. Let's give it a mix. And that's it. That's all the ingredients that go into this cheesy hash brown casserole. So simple, but the flavors are going to be incredible. And if you want, you can also add a little meat to this. I suggest using some country ham. You can use breakfast sausage, you can use ham, you can use bacon. I mean, it's the ultimate breakfast casserole. This is mixed up. Let's pour our mixture into a 9x9 casserole dish that has been buttered. The reason we buttered our 9x9 casserole dish is to make sure that, of course, it doesn't stick, but it also gives our cheesy hash brown casserole crispy edges. I love crispy edges. As a matter of fact, I only eat the edges. Let's add our reserved half a cup of cheddar cheese. Spread it evenly across. All right, that's it. Let's head over to the oven. All right, let's pop this into our oven that's preheated to 400 degrees. Hit pause and meet me back here in 45 minutes. All right, it's been 45 minutes. Let's take our casserole out of the oven. Ooh, look at that. Cheesy and golden brown. All right, let this cool for 5 minutes. Hit pause and meet me back here. We're gonna try our cheesy hash brown casserole together. All right, I am ready to try this. I know you are too. You can cut them into slices if you're serving it for your family, but it's just me right now, so I'm gonna cut a generous slice for myself. Oh, look at that. Okay. Add a little sour cream on top, dollop, and top it off with more chives. Oh. Let's give it a taste. Oh, that's incredible. That's good. It's cheesy, it's tangy, it's buttery, it's ooey gooey creamy. This is a comforting Southern dish, and man, oh man. Bacon, peppers, onions, smells like brunch. Now I'm going to make hash brown poutine with hollandaise and fried eggs on top. So I am going to start off by crisping up some bacon. I mean, it wouldn't be brunch or breakfast without bacon. I'm going to render this bacon, get some of that fat out of it. It's going to be the start of that flavor. And I'm going to cook my veggies and the potatoes in this bacon grease. All right, so my bacon has rendered down. I'm going to take out the bacon, reserving the fat. Ain't nothing like hash browns cooked in bacon fat. All right, with that reserved bacon fat, I'm going to add some diced onions, diced green bell pepper, and diced red pepper. Merry Christmas. I got some of my house seasoning here to help sweat these veggies down. Bacon, peppers, onions, smells like brunch. Now I'm going to add 4 russet potatoes that I've peeled and cubed, and I par-cooked these by boiling them for about 4 to 5 minutes. Now I do that because once it gets in the skillet, it's gonna cook faster and brown faster. Gonna add a little bit more of my house seasoning. Because I don't put a lot of salt in my house seasoning, I like to add just a little bit more salt because potatoes need the extra love. Oh, this kitchen smells so good. It's the onions and the peppers and that bacon grease. It smells holly and jolly. My potatoes have cooked. They're nice and browned. So I'm gonna add that bacon back to the pan. Smoky, salty goodness with those potatoes and veggies. So I don't wanna mix it up too much because I don't want the potatoes to break down. And now I'm going to add my cheese curd so it gets nice and melty. And now I'm gonna make my easy blender hollandaise sauce. I have some melted butter that I need to grab, and I'm going to add 3 egg yolks, a little Dijon mustard, a few splashes of hot sauce. It's a little tangy, a little spicy with that hot sauce, a little lemon juice, not too much. I'm gonna turn the blender on and slowly add in my hot butter to help emulsify the sauce. I'm slowly adding in that melted, unsalted butter. So I'm blending this all together because it helps thicken up the sauce as well. Let the blender do all the work. All right, so I can tell that this has turned pale yellow in color, and I can tell that it's thickened up, so I think it's ready. All right, I just want to give it a taste. Look how thick it's gotten. Perfect, a little tangy, so it's gonna go really well with those potatoes with that cheese curd. All right, so the next step, I'm gonna fry some eggs. And I'm gonna create like a fried egg disc to go on top of these hash browns and cheese curds. Okay, that's 1 egg. I'm gonna use 6 eggs in total. It's kind of hard to please everyone for Christmas, you know. Gotta meet in the middle. So what I'm gonna do is fry this, but not fry it too hard because I still also too like a little bit of runny yolk in the middle and a little pepper to season. So this is pretty much fried exactly how I want it. A little bit of that egg yolk in the center. What I'm gonna do is just slide it right on top. I'm gonna drizzle with my hollandaise sauce. Nice little drizzle there. Garnish with some chives. And because we're in the South, a little sprinkle of hot sauce. And there you have it, hash brown poutine for the holidays. I have 8 wings that I've seasoned with some salt and pepper. I want to give it a mix with my tongs. I'm doing it old school like my mama and grandmama do. Get some flour, dump it in my bag. I'm gonna add in about a teaspoon of my house seasoning. Okay, give it a shake. Add my chicken wings. Shake it up. You know what? I don't know what it is about this bag, but honey, it coats some chicken beautifully. Just dropping my wings in the hot oil. It is imperative that this oil is extremely hot, otherwise you will have a greasy piece of chicken. They take about 10 to 12 minutes to fry depending on how big your wings are. For me, this is gonna take about 10 minutes. I'm basically just frying it until it turns a golden brown color. You also know that your chicken is done when the chicken starts to float. I'm shallow frying, so it won't necessarily float, but I can tell by just the color of the chicken. So I'm making a sweet, tangy, more so sweet than tangy, barbecue sauce from scratch. So I'm using this whole can of tomato sauce, some ketchup, a concentrated tomato flavor, got some Worcestershire sauce, some soy sauce for a little salt, some apple cider vinegar for a little tang, a pinch of garlic powder, a few pinches of onion powder, some brown sugar, dark brown sugar. I want a lot of that molasses flavor, and maple syrup. Let me add a little pepper to this as well, and a pinch of salt. Give it a whisk, And as the tomato sauce cooks, it'll darken up once that molasses and brown sugar and maple syrup start to cook. And of course, I have to taste it, make sure it's right. Ooh. I don't know if you can hear my foot. Man, that's good. I'm gonna turn the heat down. Let this simmer on low for about 30 minutes. While that's simmering, I'm gonna tend to this chicken right here. The wings are done. Look how golden brown and pretty these are. That's my favorite part of the chicken wing, that extra piece of crispy skin. All right, my girls are coming by and I can't wait. I fried up the chicken. Now I gotta do the waffles, sweet potato waffles, that is. I got 2 cups of all-purpose flour in here. I'm gonna add in 1 tablespoon of baking powder. I have a teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm adding the cinnamon to this sweet potato waffle because I want it to kind of taste like my grandma's sweet potato pie. And a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Give it a whisk. Now for my wet ingredients, I have a 1/3 cup of unsalted melted butter, 2 cups of full-fat buttermilk. It's a buttermilk waffle. Fluffy, airy, a little crispy on the outside, soft and pillowy in the center. A tablespoon of that brown sugar. And I got 1 medium sweet potato here that I have boiled and smashed. And 2 eggs. Give it a whisk. And the sweet potato pie flavor is a perfect contrast to that savory fried chicken. All right, now I'm gonna add my wet to my dry. All right, just give it a whisk until I can get some of that flour chunks out. This is gonna be kind of a lumpy batter, and that's okay.
It smells so good.
Hey, girl. Come on in.
Okay.
So I have a cup of my waffle batter here.
Fancy.
Ooh, it came out perfect.
Oh, you smell it?
Yes.
Do you smell that?
So golden brown.
Huh? You know how I do.
Look at the little wiener.
Got my barbecue sauce over here. Watch your back.
Ooh. Yes.
Chicken wing. Get a little jalapenos. You guys like pickled jalapenos?
A little.
All right, got a little syrup. This waffle though, y'all, it's like my grandma's sweet potato pie in a waffle form.
Right.
Yeah.
Get the barbecue sauce with it. It's a whole new ball game.
I've sliced 3 pounds of Yukon Gold potatoes. Now, if you don't want to slice them yourself and you want them like paper thin, use a mandolin. So I'm going to layer this skillet, my cast iron skillet that I have buttered, greased up, got it nice and oiled. I want to take a few of my sliced potatoes and put them at the bottom. Added about half of my sliced potatoes. I want to add a little salt to the potatoes as well because potatoes are so bland that you need a little salt to enhance the flavor. So I've added some salt to my sliced potatoes. I'm adding my cheeses. I have some fontina cheese. I got some Gruyere and some white cheddar. You can use whatever cheese that you want that's nice and melty. I'm gonna add the rest of my potatoes. This skillet potatoes is one of my favorite side dishes. The cheesy potatoes just go really well with a nice juicy steak. That or even like baked chicken, like I made earlier. I want to add my final layer of cheese. And I want to top it off with a little chives. Now this is not it, guys. I want to make a cream sauce to pour on top. So when I put this in the oven, it's going to get nice and bubbly and creamy and cheesy and delicious. All right, I'm going to head over here to my stove and I'm going to make the cream sauce. I'm going to pour this cream sauce on top of all of this. To my sauce pot, I'm going to add some minced garlic. 2 cups of heavy cream, and I'm gonna grate in some nutmeg. Now, I like adding fresh nutmeg to cream sauces because it adds a little spice to it. A little freshly grated nutmeg goes a long way. And I'm gonna season my cream sauce with a little salt and pepper. All right, I'm just gonna heat this until it gets nice and warm, just kind of like a rolling boil and see some bubbles on the side and the edges. And not only is this a great side, it's also a great dish to add to your Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter spread, whatever holiday you celebrate, because it's just gonna go well with anything that you pair it with. And I mean, who doesn't love cheese and potatoes? The bubbles have formed around the edges, so I know it's nice and warm. Take it off the heat and add in my sour cream. Now I'm gonna take my cream mixture and pour it on top of my potatoes, shredded cheese. And once this starts to really get going and it starts to bake, all of the cheese and all of the potatoes are gonna get cooked, and it's just gonna start to bubble, and oh my gosh, I am really excited about this. All right, now I'm gonna cover my cast iron. I'm gonna let that bake for 45 minutes at 375. After 45 minutes, I'm gonna take the foil off and let it continue to cook and get nice and brown on top. My cheesy skillet potatoes are done, and it smells amazing in here. I wanna turn the heat down to 350 because I need to bake some brownies. All right, hoo, baby. Oh, baby, look at this. Oh, honey, look at that. Look how gorgeous and bubbly and buttery this looks, all in this beautiful skillet. I gotta try this. Oh my gosh. Well, I'll be, oh my gosh. The potatoes are like literally melting in my mouth. Those three cheeses combined, they're nutty, it's creamy, salty, but not too salty. And the chives, oh my gosh. This is one of those things, like, I promise you it will go well with any entree. You talk about chicken, we talk about red meat, and a good piece of steak. Today, I'm making you a sweet gullah classic, and that is sweet potato pone. It's a sweet potato casserole, kind of sort of like a custard as well. It's a great side dish, or it could be served as a sweet dessert. My favorite way to serve it is with a sweet eggnog whipped cream. It really brings out those warm flavors. But before we get going, preheat your oven to 350 and get a 9x9 casserole dish and spray it with non-stick cooking spray. All right, ain't nothing to it but to do it. Let's head over to our stove. So what we're doing now is heating our saucepan. I have a cute little pan here, but any saucepan will work. Let's melt 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I like using unsalted butter because I can control the amount of salt that goes into the dish. And right now we're just gonna wait for that butter to melt. Okay, just a few more seconds. And you can swivel your saucepan around just to help the melting go a little faster. And that's it, our butter is melted. All right, let's head back over to the counter. Set your butter to the side. And now we're gonna peel and grate about 2 pounds of sweet potato, which equals about 3 sweet potatoes, okay? So sweet potato pone is sort of like, well, it has the same flavors of a sweet potato pie, but it's more like a custard. It's gonna have a really soft but firm texture. You're gonna get the texture of the grated sweet potatoes in there as well, but it definitely has the flavor of a sweet potato pie. We're gonna peel all 3. Leaving none of the skin on. Okay. Okay. And this is a recipe my great-grandmother passed down to my grandmother. It's something that she made in her household on special occasions. When she didn't feel like making a sweet potato pie, she would make a sweet potato pone. And she actually served it for breakfast. See? It's a very versatile dish. All right, let's clean up the potato skin. All right, we're gonna use the finer side of the grater. If you want larger strips of sweet potato, you can use this side, but I prefer to use the finer side, okay? What I like to do is just cut off the ends and just grate using the finer side. This is where you get your workout in. If you find this process a little too much, then you can always cook your sweet potatoes and then mash them. I prefer shredding like my great-grandmother did because I like the texture of shredded sweet potatoes in this dessert. So if you use the finer side of your grater, it should look something like this, thin shreds. It's a slow process. Things in Gullah just don't happen quickly. It's not fast food. If it comes easy, it won't last long. Okay. So Gullah cooking is not really heavy on the desserts. I've found in recent years, over the last few decades, that we've incorporated more of just the Southern way of making desserts. But typically, Gullah cooking does not have a lot of sweets. We have sweet potato pie, we have sweet potato pone, we make bread pudding, but just out of the way they lived during those times, like when my great-grandmother was growing up, they just didn't have the resources. So if there was anything sweet, it would come from the land. My ancestors' definition of a dessert was getting a sweet watermelon from the watermelon patch, you know? It wasn't necessarily cakes and cookies. It was eating the sweets of the earth, like a sweet potato. It is the truth. My grandma, we ain't have no cakes. We had sweet potato pie, sweet potato pone, and bread pudding if we were lucky. Ooh, child. A triceps. So I'm going to keep grating these. I'll meet you back here when we're done. Okay, we've grated up all of our sweet potatoes. Now we're going to add that melted butter, 4 tablespoons, into a large bowl. Now we're going to add a 1/3 cup of light brown sugar. Make sure it's packed into your measuring cup. And we're going to add a 1/4 cup of molasses. I'm just going to eyeball this. Okay. Let's whisk together our sugars and butter. Okay. Leave your whisk in the bowl. Let's whisk together 3 eggs in a separate bowl. 3 whole eggs. And it's good to use a separate bowl for your eggs because you want to make sure that the eggs are thoroughly whisked. Just whisk until the yolk is broken. Okay. That whisk. Add your whisked eggs to the bowl. And now we're going to add a 1/2 cup of 1/2 and 1/2. We're going to add in a teaspoon of vanilla extract. That's just about 1 capful. Okay. Now we're going to add in our spices. We have a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/2 teaspoon of ginger. It's going to give it a really nice snap. A 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt really brings those sugars out. All right, now we're just gonna add in a little nutmeg. I'm using fresh. Fresh is much more pronounced than ground nutmeg. So use just a little more if you want that more of that nutmeg flavor, okay? All right, give it a whisk. And this is gonna look like a custard, right? This is gonna give you a custard in your bowl here. All right, we're just gonna grate in a little bit of fresh orange zest, just to give it a little hint of citrus. So we grated in about a teaspoon of fresh orange zest. Now we're just gonna add in the juice of 1/2 of this orange. about 3 tablespoons of freshly squeezed orange juice. Give it another whisk. Wipe your hands if you need to. This is not an overly sweet dessert. You're going to get a lot of that sweetness, fresh sweetness from the sweet potatoes, okay? Now we're just going to add in our grated sweet potato. And we're going to incorporate that with the spatula, okay? All right. Let's fold in our sweet potato with our custard. So folding in helps you mix all of your ingredients in without losing the volume. Just make sure the custard is fully mixed in with the sweet potatoes. I like to fold and pat, scraping the bottom up. All right, that looks great. Let's get our 9x9 casserole dish that's been sprayed with non-stick cooking spray, and just add in your mixture. Okay. All right, just fold it down here. Press it down firmly into your casserole dish here. Just fold it on down. Make sure it's nice and even. Okay. All right, so we're going to cover this with foil. All right, let's head over to the oven. Bake it covered for 40 minutes. Okay. And while that's in the oven, we're going to put our bowl and mixer in the freezer. Remember, we got to make this eggnog whipped cream. So let's get this chill for 40, hit pause, and I'll meet you back here soon. Hey, it's been 40 minutes and it's time to uncover our pone. Okay, let's take that foil right off. Okay. In the next 10 minutes, it's going to get nice and caramelized on top, okay? While that happens, let's make our eggnog whipped cream. Our bowl has been chilling for 40 minutes with the beater in the freezer. The reason I like doing that is to get a nice stapled whipped cream, okay? And it needs to be very cold in order to get that, okay? Now we're going to add in a cup of heavy cream to our cold bowl. Okay. All right. And I like to add in a few tablespoons of confectioner's sugar here. That's going to help get some of that volume in the whipped cream as well. Let's start off with 3 heavy tablespoons. You can taste to see if you can adjust, if you want to add more, but 3 tablespoons should do. All right, let's get our mixer on high. And we're just going to beat this until it gets nice and fluffy. We're looking for stiff peaks. There's one thing that I learned when I started making whipped cream at home is that if you beat too much, you will destroy that whipped cream. So slowly beat, and if it looks like it's getting thick, just take your time. Do not overbeat or you will have to start over again, okay? And it's already starting to get some volume. Now this is not a part of the original sweet potato pone recipe. I like to do my contemporary spins on my family's traditional recipes. So this is just a great addition to that sweet potato pone. Okay. Let's slow down. It looks like it's getting nice and thick, and we definitely have stiff peaks. Stiff because the bowl was cold, the beater was cold, and the heavy whipping cream is also cold, okay? Let's grate in some nutmeg. I'm using fresh, but you can definitely use ground nutmeg if you have that in your pantry. And let's say it's a 1/4 teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg or ground nutmeg. Okay. Now we're gonna fold in a 1/3 cup of eggnog. Okay. Gently fold that in. You don't want to break your whipped cream, okay? That should do it. This is a great holiday whipped cream. It's really going to bring forth those warm flavors in the Pone. Okay, that looks nice and velvety. Let's taste, just to make sure we don't need to add any more nutmeg. That's great. It's velvety. You taste a hint of that eggnog and the nutmeg. That is going to go really great on top of that sweet potato Pone. So this is done. We have a few more minutes on that Pone. Hit pause and I'll meet you back here in a few. Alrighty, it's been 10 minutes. Our sweet potato Pone has been cooking uncovered. Now it's done. So let's pull it out of the oven. Oh, it smells incredible, doesn't it? Okay. Look at that. Nice and golden brown, super bubbly on the edges. Okay, so the best way to serve sweet potato Pone is at room temperature. That way it's already set and gets nice and solid. So let this rest for about 30 minutes and we'll meet back and taste it. All right, so it's been about 30 minutes and our sweet potato Pone has come to room temperature. Let's plate and taste it. Okay. What I like to do is cut just a little square. Just loosen it up around the edges. Take a cake server and just scoot underneath. It's a nice little size for myself. And that's how it should look when you take it out of your casserole dish. Now let's top it with our whipped eggnog cream. Just a little dollop on top. All right, give it a try. Oh yeah, this smells delicious. So I've cut up 4 chicken breasts into strips. Before I dredge it, I want to of course salt the chicken. And some pepper. 1 cup of flour into this baking dish. I'm gonna crack 3 eggs in the bowl right here. Give this a whisk. So I've crushed these chips right in the bag. So I'm gonna season the flour as well. 2 teaspoons of salt, about a teaspoon of pepper, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of ground mustard. I decided to use ground mustard because I'm making a honey mustard sauce, so I kind of want that flavor in both the chicken and the dip. And 1 teaspoon of paprika. Let's get started. Take a strip, mix it around the flour, dip it in the egg, and directly into the chips. That flour and egg is gonna make sure that everything sticks. So when it bakes, it's gonna be super crunchy and it's gonna taste like I fried them. Being an auntie is really, really cool, especially like the aunties that don't have any children. It's like, you get to have all the fun and then send them back home. All right, oven set to 450. I'm gonna check it after 10 minutes, then flip it. Now I'm gonna make the dip for my chicken strips. I get tired of eating the same honey mustard dip all the time. It's the same basic dip. So I decided to use every mustard I had available in my fridge. And I experimented and make it a little creamy, make it a little tangy. It's everything that I want a honey mustard to be. Lots of honey. I'm gonna use some yellow mustard. That yellow mustard is gonna give you that tangy, classic mustard flavor. Gonna use some Dijon. I'm also using stone ground Dijon, and that's gonna give it a little texture, little whole grain seeds. I would say about 5 tablespoons of mayo. That's gonna make it creamy. Garlic powder, because I love garlic. Salt and pepper. You can use this on anything. You can use it on your sandwiches, you can use it on a burger. You can dip some French fries in this. Let me check on those chicken strips. They are ready to be flipped. Look how pretty those are. I can tell it's nice and crispy. I can hear it. So I'm flipping it to make sure that both sides get crispy. These look amazing and they smell even better. My chicken strips are done. Ooh, they are gorgeous. They're nice and brown and golden. Wait till the kids get their hands on these.
So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna go ahead and let you start cutting the potatoes, okay?
Okay, I can do that.
In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the bell pepper and the onions.
So I've cooked 10 pounds of red potatoes and I let it cool.
I am cutting up these bell peppers. I like to dice them kind of small, you know, so every little bite of potato salad, you can actually have some peppers in there.
You got your little nice uniform
like
pieces. Okay.
Actually, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put those peppers in here.
Okay.
Keep cutting that.
Okay. I've never had potato salad that tastes as good as hers. I mean, she is the salad queen. She can cook her behind off. Okay. Now, what's the secret in your potato salad? Why can't my potato salad taste like this?
Well, Kardea, you know, at my age, I got what you call old love. That means that there is no recipe for this stuff. You just make up what you do and you go along with it. And you know what? You have to learn how to make mistakes in order to get what you really want to do right.
How many eggs you got?
I have a dozen of eggs.
Oh, okay. And you leave the yolk in, right?
I sure do.
Okay.
You want to leave the yolk in.
Oh, is that the secret ingredient?
Kardea, keep cutting. Alrighty, now that you've got those potatoes cut, here's what we're gonna do. And it's gonna look like I'm adding like a lot of mayonnaise, but the reason why I'm adding so much mayonnaise is because we have a lot of potatoes.
Looks about like 3 cups.
A little bit of garlic in here. This is some onion powder. Don't need a whole lot. And I love smoked paprika. So now, and here's some salt. Don't wanna add too much salt. Let's put some pepper in. We're gonna stir all this up here.
I like the way Aunt TC uses another bowl to mix ingredients to make sure that it comes together equally and so it's evenly distributed throughout the potatoes.
Let's open up this mustard because we're gonna, in just a minute, we're gonna squirt some of that mustard in here.
All right, so in Southern potato salad, we like to use mustard.
And what we're gonna do, we're gonna dump all this stuff in the potato. That's gonna taste real good. So I'm gonna add this. I'll give it about maybe three spoons. Okay.
And that is sweet.
Yes,
sweet
I
roast.
love.
Okay.
I love the sweet taste. I love it.
So we gotta get it in a decorative bowl.
Even though this potato pot is cute.
Ooh. Looks good to me.
And here's the little bit that we left behind for you.
A scrape.
Now here's what I like to do. Mold that really good together right there and lump that. And we're looking at serving this thing right here. Isn't that pretty? So we're gonna just sprinkle a little paprika on top. The cake spoon.
I'm ready to party.
Yes, you are. That's Aunt TC's potato salad.